Hey guys, welcome back, it's Meg. Today we are going to be going over the most recent changes that Mistweaver has received and what it looks like for keys and for raid. So first off is Ancient Teachings. It will now transfer 150% of our damage done instead of the old 135. Ancient Teachings was already our highest overall in keys, outside of Bracken, but now there is a significantly larger gap between Ancient Teachings and our second highest ability. In my experience, before the buff, Ancient Teachings was around 15 to 20% of our overall healing in a key, and now it is closer to 25% or 30%. I even had a dungeon where it was around 35%, so very big on the overall. When it comes to the actual playstyle, it doesn't change much. You will just feel more bang for your buck, so to speak. When it comes to raid, this doesn't change our meta build that we're running, but it does close the gap a little bit between the Clouded Focus builds and the Ancient Teachings builds. If you're doing heroic raiding or early mythic bosses, you'll be much happier with Ancient Teachings performance, since Ancient Teachings is much better suited for that level of content. The places where I felt Ancient Teachings buff was most noticeable was in single target situations, or during situations where there is a lot of rot, like the third boss of Halls, or Magma Tusk during the AoE ability that he has is fairly noticeable. You'll also notice it in things like Underrot on the last boss. There's quite a bit of rot damage there, and you can definitely feel how much stronger Ancient Teachings is, even though most of our time in dungeons is spent doing AoE. It's good to see them kind of pulling back towards that melee damage build rather than that caster build that we've been seeing. Yu'lon's Grace is up next. That is the Diffuse Magic choice node on our class tree. It's kind of an interesting ability, but for Mythic Plus, I would only ever recommend running it in Freehold due to the first and last boss, and the overall lack of magic damage in the dungeon. And that is honestly the only dungeon that I would recommend using it in. It is just to survive that one shot that you are not going to have Diffuse Magic for every other time if you ended up taking Diffuse Magic. So for every other dungeon, there is something that you can either get a lot of damage out of with Diffuse Magic, or you need it to survive a very large hit. So while I appreciate the buff for it, and I really like that I can still use this in Freehold, it's not something that's going to be really game-changing, and it's honestly super minor. When it comes to raid, this is a bit more of a pad talent, but on rot fights, it definitely adds up over the course of the encounter, so as long as you don't need Diffuse to survive any hard-hitting abilities, you can take Yu'lon's Grace, and you can just add that onto your healing. This is the Chi Cocoon buff. I want to be very clear that this is not Life Cocoon, but it is Chi Cocoon, which is part of our Empowered Celestial talent, so this is the small shields that come out when you summon either Yu'lon or Chi-Ji. The Chi Cocoon buff I was really excited for Mythic Plus. I had tweeted about this the other day, and then the change took effect, so I was really stoked with the timing on that. And this took it from being about a 55,000 shield to around a 110,000 shield, and this is every minute. So before this change, you would see Chi Cocoon around the 8th to 10th slot overall in healing, but now it can be as high as 5th or 6th, and I had a dungeon the other day where it was my 3rd highest healing ability. So while it doesn't seem like a lot, the frequency at which they're used adds up. It also becomes significantly more useful for things like Rockmora, where Chi Cocoon can actually be the difference between living and dying. We finally have something that I would consider to be a group defensive. So I'm overall really happy with this change. I have been doing keys this week, and it has felt great to have that Chi Cocoon available. It feels like it is a very meaningful ability. Even though it is still tied to Celestial, the fact that we get it every minute is honestly game-changing. In raid, it is not nearly as big of a deal as it is in keys because it is such a low target count. However, it still works out to be about a 1000 HPS buff, even considering the Enveloping Breath nerfs. So overall, this is a net buff, and I'm super happy with it. You can even see on this boss how much damage we take when I have Chi Cocoon up versus when I don't. This is a really good use for that ability, is this fight. It also works really well for Chargath as well as Magma Tusk, so all of those big hitting AoE abilities that we have present in this dungeon is a really good example of where Chi Cocoon is going to shine. You also have situations like the 3rd boss of Halls of Infusion, where it is a rot fight, but you sometimes feel like you have just a dead global or you can't quite catch up. You're going to have that Chi Cocoon that's going to help kind of bolster the healing that you have, and it's going to give you that extra little amount of time that you need to kind of stay on top of things. Other really good examples for this are the Emberon boss in Uldaman, as well as the last boss in Uldaman, We have Rockamora in Neltharion's Lair. We have pretty much every boss here in Neltharis. Brackenhide, last boss, it's very nice, as well as the first boss actually for that Nash Frenzy. Again, it just gives you a little bit more time to kind of get the buttons going that you need. And considering it is a bursting week, you may even be in situations where you pop Chi-Ji at the end of a pack just to help with the bursting if you don't have Revival, Shaylan's, or a Master Spell. If you don't need Chi-Ji for the next pack, then you can just go ahead and send it and utilize those shields that we have now. And last but not least, we have the Enveloping Breath healing nerf, only by 12%, and this is the other half of the Celestial Empowerment talent. The other half of that is Cocoon. So a large portion of the Enveloping Breath healing was actually going into overhealing. Most healers now in Rage, you've got about 50% overhealing if you have a normal amount of healers and are using relatively normal strats. So this is mostly just a redistribution of power and is still overall a net buff. When it comes to this change in keys, you are honestly not even going to notice it. Enveloping Breath is not often what we're using Chi-Ji for. You are using it in situations like Magma Tusk or any of those route fights in AoE. It's also fairly useful on Forge Master in here, but when you look at things like Brackenhide, you're not necessarily using it for the Enveloping Breath, but you're more utilizing the AoE cleave that we get out of Gust of Mist for Chi-Ji healing. So with all of these changes in mind, I am really excited for where Mistweaver is going to be in 10.1.7, as well as taking into consideration the Manatee change that we have coming. I think that we are going to be in a really good spot for keys and for raid going into this next patch, and hopefully into the next tier as well. So I do want to address where I have been since I haven't been playing or uploading as much lately. At this point, we are pretty late into farm for Raid and Mythic Plus. This season has been handled horrendously, between the introduction of Augmentation Evoker in the middle of the season, to insane dungeon nerfs, comp nerfs, and then most recently the rescaling, which is about a 2 key level difference at the higher end. I've been super demotivated to play keys at all, since it feels like whatever I did a week or two ago just becomes completely invalidated due to their handling of the season. So I just want to say I'm still here, still streaming, and I'll be putting out more content, but right now I feel like I'm kind of just a bit in limbo waiting for 10.2, because that's when things start to kick up again. So when it comes to what you should expect from me on this channel in the future, you will be seeing class changes. If we receive any, I'll be doing more videos like this addressing the changes and how they feel. I don't think I will be uploading my raid testing if we do any of that, but I will do some Mythic Plus testing and I'll upload that and just kind of give you guys a first impression of the new season when we have access to that on the PTR, which I'm super excited for. I always love that kind of stuff. So that's what you should expect from me, and then of course I will be doing all of the videos I normally do, like the Healing the Hardest Bosses video, as well as the healing breakdowns and things like that, and we'll do some mini guides if we receive any more significant changes. I'm not going to be doing the full commentaries anymore because things change so frequently. I also feel like they are not necessarily watched as much and they do take a bulk of my time, so I'd much rather have more informational videos like this. And then if you have questions about specific routes or how to handle trash packs that I don't cover in the boss video, then I am available in my Discord. You can also just comment down below. You can also ask me during stream. I am available all of those places. So thank you guys for watching. I hope that this video was helpful, and if you have any comments or questions, feel free to hit me up on Discord or Twitch or in the comments below, and I will see you next time.